Alrighty, so we're going to go over your test review. I'm going to start with what you did in class today. Now, if you want any extra practice, guys, go to Schoology. In the third 9 weeks folder, there's a folder that says test reviews. You'll find this YouTube video and extra quizzes, codes, and links so that you can go practice at home. If you need help, come for tutorials. Look at the orange sign in the room. It will tell you when to come. Alright, for the very top portion, okay, simplify the expressions below. I said think about like terms. So for example, when I have a number outside the parentheses, remember that means to do distributive property. So I do 1/4 times 16 to get 4, 1/4 times 4 to get 1, 1/4 times 12 to get 3. Then, from there, we have to combine our like terms. So remember, if it has an x, if it has an x, I can combine it. 4 plus -3. 4 plus -3 is going to get me just 1x. Plus 1 is on its own. That's its own term. So I do x plus 1. And that's all I would get for my answer. Remember, there's no like solution. Remember, back when we did combining like terms, it's just finding out how much they have in common. Okay, let's do this one. So I have 5y. I have another term over here, -y. 5 plus a -1 would get me 4y. Then I see if there's any other sets of like terms. I have -8x, positive 12x. Well, if I add -8 and positive 12, that'd get me a positive 4x. So when I look at that all together, we get the answer 4y plus 4x. If you want to use your shapes, maybe you're not in the mood to do all the color coding, that's fine. Now notice over here you have to do distributive property before you combine like terms. So we use our shapes to combine all the ones that have x in it. 4 plus 6 gets me 10, minus 4 gets me 6x. Then I have 3, and then minus 3. And remember, this teacher's not going to pause the video 3 or 4 times for you to copy everything down. If you want the answer key, it's in Schoology. This video is just to review how to do each question. Number 4, which property justifies the fact that 5 parentheses x minus 2 is equivalent? Distributive. 5 times x, 5 times -2 gives me 5x minus 10. Anytime a number is outside the parentheses just like this, that means to multiply using distributive property. Over here, using a property, write an expression that is equivalent. Now look, I have grouping symbols. If it's multiplying all the way through, and I'm using grouping symbols, it's associative. Distributive, notice I'm doing multiplying and subtraction. So I'm not doing just one operation. Here I'm doing one operation all the way through. So if I rewrite it, I keep the order 8, 4, and 3, but I move my grouping symbols to include 8 times 4. So that is equivalent. If you want to check your work, 4 times 3 is 12. When you multiply by 8, it's the same thing as doing 32 times 3. Okay, try that out and you'll get the same answer. Over here, combining like terms, circle the algebraic expressions that are equivalent to 4n minus 8. Use your properties. So over here, I use commutative property. Oh, let's start with the first one. Combining like terms. 3n and 1n, that's 4. -1 and -7, that's -8. 4n minus 8, that's correct. 2 times everything in the parentheses is distributive property. 4n, because 2 times 2. 4 times 4 is 8, or 2 times 4 is 8. 4n minus 8. 4n minus 8, that's correct. Over here, -8 plus 4n. Remember, commutative property tells you that I can change the order. And notice when I change the order, remember when I add a negative, this is like subtraction. Remember, subtracting integers, we add the opposite. So if I were to add the opposite, it's like plus -8. So it's equivalent. Over here, 2 times 2n gets me 4n. -4 times -2 is positive 8. Remember, numbers with the same sign when I multiply gets you a positive number. Alright, over here, 4 less than a number equals -18. 4 less than a number equals -18. Less than is a turnaround word. Now remember, less than means to subtract. So if I'm doing less than, I want you to think about, oh, if I have $10, Miss Short has $5 less than me. So if she has $5 less than me, Sorry, everyone. Miss Shore has $5 less than, me. So that means I take my $10 minus the 5, or $4. So if Miss Shore has $5 less than me, there you go. It's 10 minus 5, not 5 minus 10. So it's a turnaround word. Yes, the order does matter. X minus 4, a number means it's missing. X minus 4 equals negative 18. When I solve it, inverse operation, add 4 to each side, negative 14. Negative 18 plus positive 4, different signs, so we have to subtract. Over here, 9 times the number of flowers is 135. I don't know how many flowers, but it's 9 times that amount. So I'm multiplying. Is equal to 135. I solve it, divide by 9. You see my work, x equals 15. If you check it, that means you have a higher chance of getting it correct. Okay, so check your work as much as you can. Alrighty. Number 9, c divided by 2.5 equals 8. The inverse of dividing by 2.5 is multiplying by 2.5. 8 times 2.5 gets me 20, not 200. Make sure there's one number behind the decimal here, so that means I move my decimal over one space. Number 10, negative 64 is equal to negative 16 times m. The goal is to get m by itself. Divide both sides by negative 16. When I do the division, I know that 16 times 4 gets me 64. Negative divided by a negative is a positive. Same sign, answer is positive. 4 equals m, or m equals 4. Number 11, 1/5 n equals 10.2. Now when I have 1/5, I got to divide both sides by 1/5. So I divide by 1/5 on both sides. 1/5 I can think about it as a decimal. Now I want to divide it as a decimal. If you want to change them to improper fractions and work through it, you can. But 1/5 terminates into a nice decimal. So when I work it out, remember the second number must be a whole number. So I move that over one time. I move it over here one time also. So I move it over one time in both. We get 102 divided by 2. So when I do the division, 102 divided by 2, we get 51. Number 12, negative 3 plus y equals 25. The inverse of adding 3 is subtracting 3. So I subtract 3 from both sides. 25 minus negative 3, integer rules say add the opposite. 25 plus 3 is 28. If you check it, plug back in 28. So negative 3 plus 28. Different signs means I subtract, and we get the same answer. Number 13, 9 plus w equals negative 27 and 5/10. So I subtract both sides by negative 9. Oh, I'm sorry, I subtract both sides by 9, excuse me. Negative 27.5 minus 9, again, add the opposite. Now they're the same sign, I can add like normal, line up your decimals. 9 does not go underneath 5. 9 is a whole number. So it's 9.0. So when I add them up, we get 36. They're both negative, so my answer is negative as well. Over here, n divided by 7 equals negative 21. So to undo division, multiply both sides by 7. 21 times 7 is 147. Different signs, answers in negative. 15, x, and then plus 2 equals 6. To solve it, you could just do the work, inverse operation, subtract 2 from both sides, x equals 4. If you want to use the counters, the inverse of having 2 positives here, I want to get rid of it. So I put 2 negatives. Put 2 negatives here. These cancel out, and these cancel out. Notice I put the exact same thing on both sides. I'm left over with 1, 2, 3, 4, and x on that side. All right. Let's go back to day 1. This is what we had for homework over the weekend. So if you didn't get a chance to do it, hopefully you had enough time. If you lost it, oh well, condolences. We move forward. Alright. Number 16. Last week Tiffany practiced her flute for a total of 7 hours. This is 2 hours more than she practiced last week. How many did she practice the previous week? I don't know how many hours she did last week, so that's x. I know there's a total of 7 hours, and I know that it's 2 more than last week. More than should trigger us to add. More than. If I have $5 more than Miss Short, right? So it's Miss Short's money plus 5. So over here, if it's 2 more hours than last week's missing, 2x plus 2 equals 7. Right away, if you know that this is x, you know I got to do x with 7 to get 2 or x with 2 to get 7. Guys, this is just like our talk, read, talk, write notes in our notebook. So you really got to make sure that when you work through it that you write everything out, doing it correctly. X plus 2 equals 7 is my equation. Solve it by subtracting 2 on both sides. You get 5 hours. Number 17. Ohio has 14. I know that. It's 14 less than Texas. Ohio had 20 altogether. I don't know Texas's votes. That's what my variable is. That's x. So I have x. Ohio has 14 less than Texas. So it's 14 taken away from Texas's amount. And it equals 20. When we solve it, I find out Texas has 34 votes. So again, Ohio has a total of 20. It's 14 less than Texas. Number 18, the model represents the equation x minus 8 equals 2. What is the value of x? So 1x variable, and I have 8 negatives because I'm subtracting. I get 2 at the end. Solve it correctly, do the inverse operation, add 8 to both sides, you get 10. Number 19, Gina sold 126 boxes of cookies. This is twice as many as her sister sold. How many boxes of cookies did Gina sell? I know that Gina sold 126. I know that this amount is twice as many as her sister. I don't know how much her sister sold. As soon as you find out what you don't know, that's x. That has to be what x is. So when I look at this, if that's x, 2 times however many boxes the sister sold is how much Gina sold. 2x equals 126. When I solve it, inverse of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. 126 divided by 2 is 63. Look at your notes on how we checked or how we solved these word problems. How do we set it up? How do we look for what's missing? It's all in our notebook. If you want to slow down, the video is going too fast, watch it on Schoology this weekend or tonight. Okay, study for your test tomorrow by watching this one more time. Pause, slow down the video, whatever you need. Alright, number 20. 5 plus n equals 9. So let's kind of go through it step by step. This means x, or whatever variable, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is equal to 9. So I have 9 circles. That's my first step. Then I got to figure out how do I get rid of this positive 5 on this side. So we put negative 5. If I put negative 5 here, remember it's like a balance beam. I got to put negative 5 here. These get canceled out, and left over is 1, 2, 3, 4. What I did is I subtracted 5 from both sides. When I subtract 5 from both sides, we get 4. If I want to check it, if I do 5 plus 4, 5 plus 4 does get me 9. Good to go. For 21, when I work through it, 4x, so 4 variables, equals negative 8. So I got to group them, right? I got to do some division. I got to split this into 4 groups and this into 4 groups to figure out what 1x is worth. I don't care what 4x is worth. I want to find out what 1x is worth. So I split these little dots into groups so that each one will get the same amount. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Divide them both by 4. I find out 1x is equal to negative 2. If I check it, I know 4 times 2 is 8. Different signs, answer is negative. Alright. Now bottom part. When it says describe the relationship between x and y for the following equations, this just says y equals 4 times x. Okay, I just want you to understand how to write it in words. Kind of thinking back to our multiple representations unit. Write the situation in words, or write the equation in words. This one, y is equal to, you can even say x more than 4. Now I put in that order because remember, more than is a turnaround word. You can also say 4 increased by x. 4 added, or x added to 4. So many different ways you can write it. But the whole goal is to make sure you understand how to write that using words, or how to identify it with words. Alright, the last one. Circle all pairs of expressions that are equivalent. Show your work to prove your answer. Guys, remember I told you, to get equivalent expressions, we do properties, like distributive property, or any associative property, commutative property. Numbers next to the parentheses means I can multiply everything inside by 4. 4 times x, that's 4 x's. 4 times 3 is 12. 4x minus 12, 4 times x minus 12. Same thing. These two are equal. Over here, you can't change the grouping if it's two different operations. Right? If you plug in x, put a random number, like if I said that's 10. 10 plus 20 versus 15 times 4 is not going to be the same answer. If you plug in a number here, any random number, both of these will get you the same answer. Over here I do distributive property, 7 times 4, 7 times 6. 7 times 4x is 28x. 7 times 6 is 42. 28x minus 42. 7 times 4x is 28x, but then nothing happens to 6, so it stays the same. But for D, 2x plus 6, over here if I distribute 2 times x, it's 2x. 2 times 3 is 6. Both of these are the same. So this, you want to think about distributive property. So study tonight, look at Schoology, look at the video one more time, look at my test review, do the quizzes, use the links in Schoology, study. Tomorrow we'll take our test. Make sure you bring in your review for an extra 5 points on your test. So if you bring a completed review, that's an extra 5 points. Good luck.